Let's continue our tour through the United States over the last 24 hours. Donald Trump last night held his first sort of real campaign event. This was an event in Davenport, Iowa. It was billed as a major speech about education policy. It ended up being nearly 100 minutes of Donald Trump ranting and raving, confused and with terrible audio. Very, very little discussion of education other than a few anti-trans statements. Now, I do want to warn you as we get into these clips, the audio was absolutely terrible. It's possible that Antifa snuck in and did the audio engineering. If you haven't heard of Antifa, in the next segment, you will be introduced to the ways of Antifa by one of the attendees at this event. First and foremost, the disconnect from the real world continues. As Donald Trump claimed that you need an ID to buy groceries, why don't you need one to vote?
You have to have one when you buy groceries and other things, but you can't have one for voting. That's because they want to cheat. That's the only reason.
Now, of course, you don't need an ID to buy groceries. And when I tweeted about this, someone wrote to me and said, David, if you use a credit card, you do need an ID to buy groceries. No, you do not. Not in the United States. In the rare case when you have a physical card and you wrote on the back CID and you hand it to a cashier, they might make you show an ID, but overwhelmingly, you don't need any ID whatsoever in any circumstance to buy groceries unless you are buying alcohol. But Trump wouldn't know that because he has not, I guess, bought groceries in probably decades. Donald Trump went fully conspiratorial during this supposed speech about education, where he said he will end woke and will also crush the deep state.
Together, we will end the era of weaponized government forever. We will end woke. We will crush the deep state.
There it is. The deep state, which of course is a conspiracy theory that Donald Trump has continued to dabble with for a very, very long time. One of the strangest moments during this event was when Donald Trump polled the audience about whether they like their children. Very unusual presidential sort of speech moment.
Does anybody in here not like their children? Oh, be careful. Oh, we got to be careful with that.
I mean, Trump doesn't, right? Not most of them, anyway.
The problem is the fake news media is going to report that as fact. You know that. You're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah.
He loves his boy. He loves his family.
And as you can tell, the audio, very, very poor, cutting in and out. At another moment, Donald Trump tells this bizarre story of he would win basketball by having LeBron James play on a women's team, which is an interesting idea.
I'm not a fan of LeBron James. I don't like LeBron. But I'd say, hey, LeBron, you ever think of becoming a woman? Because you're going to be on my team. We're going to go undefeated for the next 5 years, LeBron. I'm not a fan, but, I would ask him that question.
There it is.
And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
That really set the crowd off. The crowd the crowd was very bored throughout 95% of the speech. They liked the anti-vax stuff and they liked the anti-trans stuff. Trump also now regularly using the word insane asylums, falsely claiming that foreign countries are emptying their insane asylums into the United States. It's not happening, and Trump reflects on the political correctness of the term insane asylum. Here we go.
Prisons are empty. They're mental institutions. They're insane asylums, a word you're not supposed to use anymore. Words you're not supposed to use. Unlike Biden. I have 3 words for you to get.
Okay.
We don't want to be caught in that predicament. So 2 words. Insane asylum. These are words you're not supposed to be using anymore. It's not politically incorrect. But
it's not politically incorrect. I think he means it's not politically correct, but he's as confused as everybody in the crowd. And I want people to really understand. This went on for nearly 100 minutes, and then he took questions. Trump did go after Ron DeSantis a little bit. He is unhealthily obsessed with DeSantis, even though DeSantis hasn't yet announced a candidacy. Trump is daily talking about DeSantis.
Okay, so remember this. Ron DeSantis. Did anyone ever hear of DeSantis? The sanctimonious DeSantis. Now, Ron DeSantis strongly opposed ethanol. Do you know that?
Right.
And we don't even know if he's running, but I might as well tell you. If he's not running, I'll say he was fine on ethanol. Don't worry about it.
Trump admitting many of his attacks are just opportunistic lies.
Strongly opposed ethanol and fought against it at every turn, and he's going to do that again because people that come out early for something, that's where they go. That's what it is. So, he may do something politically, but he was very, very bad on ethanol, and he fought it all the way, and he also fought against Social Security. He wanted to decimate it and voted against it 3 times. Voted against Social Security. That's a bad one. A lot of people don't know that. But
yeah. Now, it's also not exactly true, and I've spoken about that before. If you're confused, like a lot of people were dipping in and out of my live stream last night and saying, I don't understand what this is about. Even people who watched the entire speech didn't know what it was about. It didn't make any sense. Trump announcing that he will be breaking up the Department of Education, by which I think he means abolishing it, which is a very bad idea. In fact, this entire speech is sort of emblematic of the problem with education in the United States not being regulated enough at the federal level. But in any case, Trump says he'll break up the DOE and then seems confused himself.
Select somebody who will get the job done. In addition, I am going to pursue, and we studied it very closely, and I was getting ready to do it, pull the trigger.
He was about to do it, and then he lost.
The long-term goal, but now it's a short-term goal of breaking up the federal Department of Education and redistributing its functions to the states.
There you go.
Going to break it up soon. That'll be done quickly. I was ready to get it done. Then we had a bad election.
Oh, man. He was just days away. 4 years, he couldn't get it done. He was days from doing it, and then we had a bad election, just like his health care plan. Trump then ended his event in Iowa before moving to the question phase, which was even worse, if you can imagine, by promising to use federal law enforcement to police cities.
In any Democrat-run state, and it's just not the same. It doesn't work. You look at these cities, our great cities are, New York City is a crime den. Chicago is a crime den. You look at these great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, you look at what's happening to our country. We cannot let it happen any longer. And one of the other things I'll do, because you're supposed to not be involved in that. You just have to be asked by the governor or the mayor to come in.
Yeah, that's basically the law.
The next time, I'm not waiting. One of the things I did was let them run it, and we're going to show how bad a job they do. Well, we did that. We don't have to wait any longer. We got to get crime out of our cities. Thank you very much for a good question.
Yep. So he'll send in federal law enforcement to police cities. Now, the legality of that is very shaky. And there are cases when the federal government can just send in law enforcement, but there have to be specific activities going on. It has to be things under the purview, for example, of the FBI or the DEA or ATF. There needs to be specific expertise or jurisdiction, like organized crime or drug trafficking or terrorism. You can't just say, we're going to police Chicago for the hell of it. That's the blanket use of federal forces to police cities. And it is not obvious at all that it is legal, but who cares, right? Who cares? So what I wonder is, what's the takeaway from people who go to a speech like this? Do they come, it was billed as a major speech on education, other than saying, I will end the Department of Education and stop transgender, whatever that means. He didn't really talk about education. So I wonder, do people go to this and then go home and say, wow, that was really great. Really electric, inspirational speech. I don't know what the reaction is, especially since people seem so bored by the 100 minutes of this nonsense. Now, one other note, Trump did take questions and it went about as poorly as you would imagine. Here's one that came from the crowd.
We'll take one or two more. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. President.
Got to be a good one. If it's a good one, I'm out of here, right? If it's a bad one, I've got to take a couple of more to get over the stench of the bad one.
I just wanted to say it's an honor to hear you speak,
Thank
first
you.
of all. But my question for you is, what can you do to combat transgender athletes taking over women's sports?
Such an important issue.
Well, you've done it here because your governor's passed legislation. You can't. No, it's crazy. It's like, how does people are seriously in favor of having it done, and I don't understand it. And I tell the story of that champion swimmer, and she's there, and she's looking up and down the line. She sees friends that she's been swimming with. She's a champion. And then she sees this person next to her, and he's a monster. He looks like Wilt Chamberlain, but a little bit different. She sees the guy has a wingspan. She's like looking up and down, then she looks up, wow.
So do not adjust your television. Do not adjust your mobile phone. Trump is not answering the question. He's just ranting confusedly.
And, he broke all these records, and it's just it doesn't make sense.
All right, there you go. So there is Trump's question and answer phase. We are in for a year of this, folks, and it is as dangerous as it is delusional. And as we are now focusing on, this is what Trump said, but what about the attendees at this speech? Let's talk about that next.